overcoming a smartphone addiction, and yes, many experts consider compulsively checking your phone a behavioral addiction, similar to gambling, has the potential to improve your relationships, sleep, physical fitness, and mental health. Many apps are modeled after slot machines, which are arguably the most addictive machines ever created. Matching on a dating app, an interesting article, a text message from a crush, a dozen likes after posting a selfie all release a feel-good chemical called dopamine. Our brains have learned to associate checking our phones.
A tranche of research over the past few years, amid the global coronavirus pandemic, a rise in armed conflicts, and increased economic woes, has offered a glimpse into what leaves us restless at night and the ways social media and our phones exacerbate feelings of helplessness. Spawning from a sense of inadequacy about one's appearance or a perceived lack of achievements, anyone scrolling their phones for extended periods and misusing social media faces an elevated risk of depression, anxiety, loneliness, self-harm, and suicide.
Doom scrolling is essentially an avoidance technique used to cope with anxiety, so wherever you are vulnerable to anxiety, doom scrolling can become an unhealthy coping mechanism, says Megan E. Johnson, a licensed clinical psychologist and researcher specializing in trauma and brain behavior relationships. And ironically, the very things doom scrolling can rob you of, healthy sleep, meaningful social interactions, fulfilling work, and hobbies, are also the things we know are most supportive of our mental well-being. So it becomes a vicious cycle.
Recognizing the root of your interest in bad news or an overinvestment in the opinions of others may be the result of feeling vulnerable or helpless or overwhelmed. Decide what to call it, then seek out the first, simplest option to feeding that need, whether it be through support of a friend or colleague, security from your partner or four-legged companion, or comfort and rest in the form of a mental health day. Once you understand your need, then you can find a realistic and appropriate way to get that need met, rather than compulsively turning.
Everyone is the main character of their own lives, and likely an extra at best in the lives of most of their social media followers. So your social media break will probably matter most to you. There must be some people who genuinely enjoy seeing you around social media. Are you overwhelmed by seeing too much of other people's lives? Is your like count feeding your toxic need for validation? Humans are drawn to the art of driving by an intricate blend of psychology and instinct. Driving requires deciphering the language of lines, signs, and symbols.
Engaging in driving activates a distinctive fusion of pleasure-inducing chemicals, releasing dopamine and endorphins that amplify the emotional bond. With each shift of gears, with every curve embraced, dopamine-fueled elation courses through your veins. Ultimately, driving isn't a mere practicality, but a voyage that ignites fundamental instincts, intertwining freedom, exhilaration, and the sheer delight of steering one's course. For those who cherish their independence, driving is an elixir of joy.
The new campaign is being introduced at an exciting time in Volkswagen's journey in India. They have always had an impressive collection of high-quality, thrilling German-engineered cars. From the iconic Beetle to the modern GTI. In a world where safety remains a paramount concern, these cars rise above the fray. But more recently, the Taygun and Virtus have firmly established Volkswagen's position as stalwarts of safety on Indian roads. Both cars have achieved remarkable feats in terms of safety ratings, securing the highest accolade.
Behavior change is often supported by connecting to the bigger values. I found vacation an ideal time to lay off my caffeine habit. And lying on the beach breezing through trashy romance novels doesn't exactly require much concentration and energy. Monday still ranks pretty low, but at least you won't have to add caffeine headache to your woes. Your body also will likely find it easier to adjust to abstinence. Try to stay very well hydrated and utilize headache relief remedies like magnesium, turmeric. The most difficult part of your transition.
The squeaky wheel, complaining the right way to get results, improve your relationships, and enhance self-esteem. Complaining is also a bonding mechanism, according to the New York City psychologist. Complaints can make us feel like we connect with someone because we have a mutual dissatisfaction about something. But when we vent, we are getting frustration out of our systems, for example, ranting to a coworker because traffic made you late. Gratitude activates dopamine in the brain and creates the conditions for optimism.
A break from drinking will give you this opportunity. A dry month may lead you to rearrange your social calendar. In other words, rather than just take away the behavior, replace the behavior with something that is healthier and more sustainable. Her anecdote fits with a study of about 850 people who volunteered to abstain from alcohol for 1 month. Low levels of consumption reduces some burden on the liver. One thing that many listeners who've tried a dry January